A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a dramatic turn of events, Vice President JD Vance found himself at the center of a storm of protests as he and his family attempted to enjoy a ski holiday in Vermont. The protests were ignited by a heated exchange between Vance, President Trump, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that took place in the Oval Office just days earlier. Demonstrators lined the roads in Waitsfield, Vermont, waving pro-Ukraine signs and voicing their discontent with the Trump-Vance administration's stance on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The protests were organized by local groups, including indivisible Mad River Valley, who had planned the demonstration prior to the Oval Office clash but adapted their messaging to reflect the recent developments. Judy Daly, a member of the organizing group, noted that the confrontation in Washington likely galvanized even more support for the protests. "I think Friday's performance at the White House has probably galvanized even more people to come out today," she stated. Protesters expressed their anger towards Vance, with one demonstrator, Corey Giroux, declaring, "Vance crossed the line." The vice president and his family had initially intended to visit a ski resort in the area, but reports indicate they moved to an undisclosed location due to the demonstrations. Vermont's governor, Phil Scott, who has distanced himself from Trump, called for respect towards the vice president and his family, recognizing the importance of maintaining decorum even amidst political disagreements. Scott welcomed Vance to Vermont, emphasizing that the vice president was there for a family trip with his young children. The protests were not isolated to Vermont. Similar demonstrations occurred in major cities across the United States, including New York, Los Angeles, and Boston. Hundreds gathered in these cities to show their support for Ukraine, following the fallout from the Oval Office meeting. The confrontation saw Vance accusing Zelensky of disrespecting the United States, while Trump urged the Ukrainian leader to negotiate with Russia, stating, "Make a deal with Russia or we are out," and accusing him of gambling with World War III. The tensions in the Oval Office were palpable, with many observers noting the unusual and aggressive tone taken by both American leaders towards Zelensky. This incident has raised questions about the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations and the Biden administration's approach to supporting Ukraine in its ongoing struggle against Russian aggression. In a separate but related event, protests also erupted outside Tesla stores across the country against Elon Musk's proposed cuts to government spending, as he has been appointed by Trump to oversee the Department of Government Efficiency. This move has drawn criticism from various groups who argue that such cuts would adversely affect essential services. Meanwhile, Zelensky, following his tense meeting with the U.S. leaders, traveled to the UK for a summit with European leaders, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the UK and Canada's Justin Trudeau. The summit aimed to discuss strategies for ending the war in Ukraine and ensuring the security of Europe. Starmer expressed his commitment to acting as a bridge between the U.S. and Ukraine, emphasizing the need for collaboration to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. As the protests continue to unfold, the political landscape surrounding U.S. support for Ukraine remains uncertain. The vice president's family trip to Vermont has become a focal point for dissent against the administration's handling of international relations, and the protests are a clear indication that many Americans are not willing to remain silent on the issue. The situation in Ukraine is evolving rapidly, and the implications of the recent clashes between U.S. leaders and Zelensky may have significant consequences for diplomatic relations moving forward. As the world watches closely, the voices of protesters across the nation serve as a reminder of the complexity and urgency of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the international community's role in addressing it. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.